All right, so this time we're talking about the Humanitarian Club, also known as the NFs. This is going to be the EIE, IEI, EII, and IEE. That's a mouthful. Um, so all the types that have intuition and feeling or ethics, right? Intuition, ethics. So I and E or E and I at the front of their letters. All right, this is the group that they are the humanitarians, as it said, because their interests are predominantly in people, society, what is good for society, what is um, good for people in a usually in more of an ethical, moral, or spiritual kind of way. What is the best thing for people that would make people feel better, make people feel more fulfilled lives, make them on a spiritual or emotional level feel happy and fulfilled and so on. They tend to be more interested in these kinds of topics. So it could be philosophy, it could be art, it could be spiritualism, could be religion, but a lot of times it's not necessarily organized religion. It might be just dabbling in different kinds of religion and looking for different spiritual things that they find that are meaningful to them. Um, they may be interested in more grounded activities that it's um, nonprofit organizations or other organizations that are meant to help people in some way, help children, help some disenfranchised like group of people. Um, they might be interested sometimes in getting involved in ways of spreading information, knowledge about certain minorities or groups of people that they feel have been kind of left out, neglected in some way, whatever, something like that. Um, in some cases, they might be into psychology things, which might be a reason they're drawn into typology, socionics, whatever, any other system like that. And they're drawn into it maybe because they enjoy the idea of getting to know people. They want to understand people. They want to help people, psychological stuff, whatever. Um, so that might be their motivation. So whatever they choose to do, or whatever job they're doing, and so on, in many cases, you'll find that the underlying reasons for it is for these humanitarian kind of approach, hence the name humanitarians. Um, Topics on these kinds of issues, these kind of spiritual practices, meaning of life, purpose, helping people throughout their life, helping others develop. Where should societies go? How do we maybe make something better for society? These are the kind of conversations or things that they generally are most interested in. These are the topics they like to research, look up on their own time. This is where they really put a lot of their interest on. Um, this is a group that is more difficult to see, in my opinion, because they are a bit more chameleon-like than the other clubs, meaning they're able to blend in better. They can socially behave in a way that kind of fits into any particular club rather well. Um, that's really more of a Kierkegaard idea, but I think it holds true. They can hang with the pragmatists and understanding what the pragmatists are about, even though they don't necessarily like them necessarily, but they can kind of hang with them and understand the value of pragmatic people getting things done that need to happen. They can hang with the social people because they understand the value of socializing. That's a people focused thing. Let's talk to people. Let's figure out stuff with people. So they can understand them and hang with them quite well. They can also enjoy hanging around the researchers and the nerdy NTs who want to get into these deeper conversations about stuff. They can appreciate the NTs having all this knowledge and information about a variety of deep topics. very abstract style of communication as well. So they do a very good job of kind of like going around mingling with everybody. Because of that, they can seem kind of camouflaged. They can be a little difficult. You might be looking at an NF, and that NF may appear like they're a socialite or they're a pragmatic or they're one of those types, right? And you might misidentify who you're looking at. The NF themselves might have a hard time figuring themselves out, right? Because they're misidentifying their own behavior a little bit, right? But in many cases, these types kind of know or feel like they're different early on in life. They could kind of just tell that they're not quite like other people. The things they tend to feel or think about is not the same. This is a group that also it can be very sensitive, more so than probably any of the other clubs. They're emotionally very sensitive to criticism, very sensitive to negativity, negative emotions, and so on. Um, they can be very sensitive and empathetic to the what's happening to other people around the world, what happened to someone else, whatever. Um, very sensitive, very emotional. Could bring them to tears almost to see what's going on somewhere else. Um, this is part of the reason why they're so motivated to go help other people and go help society overall, because they are sensitive to it. They realize how important this is for people. Um, so that's why they're drawn to those kind of careers. But the NFs are not all alike. You're going to have a split, right? So you're going to have the beta humanitarians, which is going to be your EIE and your IEI, your ENFJ and your INFP in socionics. These beta types tend to be more interested in society overall, right? How can we better help groups of people, society as a whole? How can we steer society in the direction that is best for people? How can we maybe go into government organizations or nonprofit organizations or some kind of company that's going to better help everybody? How can we do maybe spiritual, philosophical things to kind of help everybody, right? Form some kind of a group, some kind of community, or maybe write books on spiritual topics, on um, history of people and literature and things like that. And then through books, we spread our message that could help enlighten people, could help people feel more connected and get more meaning in their life. That might be an approach that betas kind of like to do. Um, betas can be more social in that sense. They want to sort of engage with more people because more people means we can get our message out, we can do better good. Um, they are not always positive. They are often pointing out negative things in the world that need to be addressed, right? Here's a group of people that are not being taken care of. Here's a group of people that are being dismissed or being treated badly. We need to go fix that. Okay. They're pointing to that bad situation, letting the world know, hey, I hope you're paying attention to what's going on over there. That right there is terrible and that needs to be resolved. And we all need to get together and fix it. Okay, that is unethical or immoral, or it's just not good what's going on with those people, right? This is quite different from socials who, especially alpha quadrant socials, who usually try to avoid the deep, dark, negative stuff. Okay, those alphas are aware that there's bad things going on in the world, but they would rather not draw attention to it and focus on it. They want to focus on what's positive, right? Beta NFs don't. They point right to it. Look, those are problems. Let's go deal with that, right? Now, your delta NFs tend to be much more quiet about this kind of thing. They tend to want to work with people on a more one-on-one level, on a smaller scale, particularly on an individual case-by-case basis. They want to help this one person over here with their unique issues. They want to help that person over there with their unique issues. They want to work on this small group of people here with their specific issues. Um, it takes on a much more personal sort of flavor to it. Very personal, very intimate, really trying to work one on one with people. Um, and trying to do it in a very pragmatic way. How can I, in a practical sense, help you with your situation, do something for you, right? The beta NFs, not necessarily, right? They might write a book or something, and hey, I hope people read it and it helps people that they're reading this kind of literature on philosophical stuff. Whether that actually helps them or not, I hope it spiritually enlightens them, mentally or whatever. But it may not, in a practical sense, help them. Your Delta humanitarian NFs are looking more to try to help somebody much more personal. They want to physically be there with you to help show you how to do something, help you do something on a day-to-day basis, um, help get you connected to other people who could help you. Um, Doing something much more tangible in its result that's helping people very one-on-one. Um, Delta humanitarians also tend to be much more open to exploring different kinds of people, much more accepting on people being very different and very unique, and viewing that in a very positive way, being very happy to see people being totally unique, different snowflakes. You're totally different. You're very unusual. Your habits are unusual. Your interests are unusual. The weirder, the more, the better. For a lot of these Delta NFs, they really enjoy that. Very off the wall, unusual people, and so they're often better equipped at working one on one with very odd people, very the outliers of society, if you will. Very good at exploring, talking to those people, working with them, adjusting and adapting to them. They're excellent at that, and they're much better than the betas at that. Betas are trying to get more of a collective group where everyone can kind of come together and be more as one. Delta humanitarians are not as just bringing everyone together, but rather just working with each individual. What are you like, and how different are you? And oh, you are very different. Wow, that's some weird interest. Let me learn more about you. They're much more in that kind of way. Um, yeah, and the deltas, by the way, was the EII and the IEE. That would be the INFJ in Socionics, and ENFP, right? INF little j. So how do they kind of interact with us? Well, I kind of mentioned already. When it comes to other NTs, I think NFs and NTs do get along pretty well because of the interest in abstraction, the interest in theory, the interest in researching, looking up concepts and ideas, going into books to think about stuff, looking at the past and history, diving into literature, stories of writers, what they said, diving into maybe artwork, poetry, things like that, to gain insights on where they think people should go and what they think is best for people. Um, so they can be much more in their head that sense, in that way. So they can connect with the NTs because of the interest of abstract ideas type of stuff, but have problems in that they view the NTs as being too cold, too analytical at times, not focused enough on the heart of people, the emotional feeling of people. They're not focused enough on what's good for people, and are too focused on facts and data, too focused on the science of it instead of the people. So there can be a little bit of a battle going on there every now and again. But otherwise, they can get along pretty well. Um, when it comes to dealing with the SFs, the socials, a lot of times they sort of view them, um, they can get along with them well and just kind of get things done and be social, whatever. But they do most of the time just view the socials, the SFs, as being a little bit too shallow. Just they're not thinking deeply and meaningfully enough into things. Um, they're not really, the SFs are not really paying enough attention to the underlying meaning of the art or society or life in general. Um, that they're too focused on just day-to-day stuff. So there you go. With the pragmatists, the STs, this is the most opposite of the NFs. Um, and they can appreciate that STs are very pragmatic. They know how to get things done. But it leaves a big void in communication because the STs usually are not that interested in these deeper philosophical, spiritual, deeper meaning of stuff. STs are usually not very good at dealing with the feelings and emotions of other people. They can be very dismissive and cold of such things, and that makes for a problem with DNFs. They're just like, our interests are totally not in the same place. These people don't think about anything meaningful and deep, and can be very cold and dismissive with people. So that can be a problem. Uh, Pretty much. In general, that's kind of how it works. Um, Still, there are cases of, as always, where individuals, maybe you're an NF and you like a certain ST, you're getting along with some ESTP or something like that. Those things happen a lot as well. Um, and you might like some other SFs, whatever, right? These are just kind of general, broad views that these groups tend to have of each other. Yeah, and so on. So anyway, that's pretty much the NFs overall. Uh, Very big group, very important group that um, is often very much involved in typology things. Often likes to think of themselves as very rare and mysterious, but are not. Sorry, they're not. They're not necessarily that rare or that mysterious. But they again can be very emotionally sensitive, so they can often feel like they just like nobody understands their emotions and where they're coming from. They can be a group that has a hard time expressing their ideas because they're speaking in very poetic kinds of ways. It's not very concrete and clear, so other people don't always understand them. So bottom line, the NF feels very isolated and misunderstood a lot. And that gives them the impression that they're very rare and difficult to find. It's like, not exactly. Um, they're not as common as like SF types, or STs are probably more common. But NFs are not exactly like unheard of. They're not like 2% of the population or something. It's ridiculous. Right. So anyway, again, let me know what you think. Are you an NF? Do a lot of things resonate with you? How do you feel about some of these other groups? Um, See what happens there. So like and subscribe, and on to the next one.